Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Knight of the Podcast. Whoa!
Well, I'm disappointed that I don't have a snazzy theme song to sing this week for this film.
I feel deprived after last week giving us not one, but two kick-ass musical numbers. Yeah. This one does not have a theme song, but it does have eerie cherubic voices over church organs. So we do get that.
That's the next best thing, right? To party the whole night long is cherubic chanting voices.
Horrifying. I was in choir as a child, and it's very triggering hearing those choral numbers because it just sounds like my childhood. It does. I was raised Catholic. What about you?
No, I was not.
Lucky you.
I was not raised anything.
Good.
And in fact, I mean, we're going to get a little sidetracked here, but in fact, when I was like I don't even remember, maybe like 6th or 7th grade, like the neighborhood kids, like one of the cool things, I guess, to do was to go to vacation Bible school during the summer. It was like a week at a church. And they had tried to talk me into getting baptized. And I was really excited about it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get baptized. I didn't really know what it was. And like the day before I was supposed to do it, my mom told me I couldn't do it because she said I was too young to make that decision.
Your mother was sensible.
Yeah.
My family was in deep with the whole Catholicism thing, but not like, I mean, there's some families that like take it to an extreme. No, we just went to church every fucking Sunday. I was confirmed. This is a story. This is how people knew I was a homosexual before I did. Just an example. So, with confirmation, you get to pick your patron. You get to pick your saint, what saint name you want to be confirmed under. And I wanted Mary Magdalene because even at the tender age of 11, 12, I understood that I related to her. And they like had to sit me down and be like, Roger, you're a boy and you cannot have Mary Magdalene. I was like, well, what about just Magdalene? Like I was trying to like barter with them and they're like, no. So I had to pick Luke. But ever since then, I've been spiteful towards the Catholics for depriving me.
Oh, I'm sure they deprive a lot of people of a lot of things. But
yes, but they don't deprive us of a slasher movie.
No, they don't. They don't. And if you haven't guessed, this week we are discussing the 1976 slasher. That's a slasher. Alice, Sweet Alice, aka Communion, aka Holy Terror. And, we spent 2 hours last week talking about Evil Laugh, so I feel like we should probably just cut some of the banter out and just get right into this film.
Yeah, how can we not? I mean, honestly, it's the whole film. I sat down and watched it a couple times, and I've got to say the whole thing is extremely triggering because there's a lot of Catholic imagery. But one thing, like, I'm very curious about, and maybe you can enlighten me as like a good segue into the actual film itself. In that era in the 70s, early 80s, there was a lot of like backlash against slashers in general and how like they were promoting violence and everything. This one, how does this one not have a more of a taboo reputation, especially like with the Catholics? Like I honestly was not aware of how heavy they laid on the Catholic subtext, one imagery, and just overall into the plot with this movie until I sat down and revisited it. I mean, aside from having beautiful visuals, this movie is completely about the Catholic Church. And I'm shocked there's not more of an outcry to this day about, at least from them, I could give two shits, but from them about how it portrays Catholic guilt and manipulation with religion. And there's just so many themes and so much going on. And I'm surprised there's not more of a backlash against this film, at least from the more religious individuals out there.
Mm-hmm. I thought about that, and my only answer with that is that this film came out in 1976.
Mhm,
Okay, so think about it, it was 2 years before Halloween,
mhm.
um, a couple years after Black Christmas. The slasher genre wasn't really a thing yet, um, in terms of like the boom it got when Halloween came out. So I think this one just kind of flew under the radar, and it's kind of stayed there. Um, for a long time. It really hasn't. I think recently it kind of had a little cult resurgence, but that's the only thing I could think of is that it just came out at a time when, and it just kind of went under the radar because it was this slasher film that came out before people really even knew what slasher films were. So it just kind of was dismissed as being maybe just, you know,
Yeah, because even though it's not like a kill heavy movie, when it does give us moments of violence, like it does not shy away from it. It's actually more violent than some of the films I think of when we talk about the early era of the slasher. I mean, when it comes to stabbings, like you see full penetration of knife into flesh. You see like some pretty graphic imagery, even in the concept of like, or in the execution of like how some people get stabbed and then like you see them like lingering, they're still alive, like crawling around and everything. It's pretty graphic, and I was shocked for being from this era how much violence you get when you do get some of these few and far between kill sequences, and we'll go more into those. But yeah, this movie really it surprised me in a lot of ways, both in the sense of violence and how much violence you do see in this movie, but also with like how ballsy they were with the script. And we'll get into that as well, because it handles some really heavy themes. It does not shy away from them, nor the imagery associated with them.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so right from the opening, like we just talked about, the opening credits, you get some eerie chanting, Catholic chanting with this like grand haunting score. The score of this movie is very effective,
Very effective.
very well.
Yeah.
And it focuses in on the opening focuses on like this religious figurine with a veil on, with her head down, holding something that you think is a cross, and then in a very kind of cheesy looking way, now I'm sure it was effective back then, lifts it up and it's a knife. Ooh, it's kind of a cool little opening. You don't see openings like that anymore.
No, you don't see a lot of openings that are specifically created just to be an opening sequence. It was kind of similar to the pumpkin with Halloween.
I was just gonna say that you were so that I was just gonna say that I was just gonna say, and it's kind of interesting that Halloween did something kind of similar thematically with their opening as this one did, because again, I want people to keep this in mind. This movie came out 2 years before Halloween. Okay, now am I saying that the two movies are similar? No, but there are similarities for sure. And I just think that a lot of people forget that there were slasher movies before Halloween. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
after the effective opening credits, we get the scene of the church bell ringing and the church is being dismissed, and we focus in on a family of sorts. It's a family. It's a single mother, Catherine, who is played by the stunning Linda Miller.
Stunning.
Who, yes, she is gorgeous. Who happened to be Jason Miller's wife, Jason Miller from The Exorcist, and is Jason Patrick's mother from The Lost Boys. Just a little trivia there. And
she's got her own little piece of Hollywood history there herself.
Yeah, and she's actually she's Jackie Gleason's daughter also.
Oh my God, genetics run strong in this woman. But and her eyes, I just gotta say, God, I get me a pair of contacts styled after this woman's eyes. Like they are entrancing on camera. So she is quite a strong female focal character. I really like her. I like how she's played, even though it has like, I mean, it's in the 70s. There's a certain way that they portrayed characters back then, but it's kind of cool in a way that you're seeing, you know, a movie that came ahead of the slasher, all the tropes and everything, and it's giving us kind of a strong female from that time period. I like her. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. She's very good in this. I mean, the whole cast is amazing, but she's definitely a standout. And she has two daughters, Karen, who is played by the lovely young Brooke Shields.
Has Brooke Shields always looked like Brooke Shields? Like, you know how some children are like, they look, when a kid is a kid, they look like a child. And then a child grows up and becomes an adult. Brooke Shields has always looked like Brooke Shields. Like, she's stunningly gorgeous then. She was stunningly gorgeous in Blue Lagoon. And she's stunningly gorgeous now.
Yes, she is. Yeah, what I feel like, if this movie is known for anything, it's the film debut of Brooke Shields. That's all you hear about this film. I remember, like, even if you go watch the trailer on YouTube, and I'm going to post it in the Dark Night of the podcast group because it is the oddest trailer I've ever heard in my life. It's so weird. I'll post it, but like, even the trailer keeps saying, "Oh, Brooke Shields," and they put some, like, throughout the trailer, they don't even use an image of her from the movie. They use an image of her from like the Blue Lagoon, and it's just kind of plastered in the frame. I'm like, this is odd.
That is very odd because Blue Lagoon she's a very different age in that movie. And I would feel completely like thrown off by any of the imagery from that movie in contrast to this one.
It is really odd. And so you get Karen, and then you get lovely Alice, played by the enchanting Paula Shepherd, who never really went on to do anything else, which is sad because she is a sight to behold in this film.
She has like one vocal tone throughout the course of the entire film, and it is so like grating. And it works because the child is supposed to be grating. Let me say, like, these two kids make me never want to spawn or reproduce ever.
They are brats.
They are absolutely atrocious. I can't stand either of them. Karen is a pain in the ass, and she's like such a fucking little bitch, and she's like going to her mom for this and going to her mom for that. And Alice, don't get me started on that one, because she, as you will find out, has her own set of problems. And that poor mother, like, I'd be so heavily medicated. Of course, they didn't really medicate properly back in the 70s. Well, they probably give her like a Valium or something to get through this experience.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the film actually takes place in 61. Okay,
yeah.
So yeah. But yes, these kids are just, oh my God. But so after church, they go to the father's house, Father Tom. What's his name?
Father Tom. I think it's Tom because it kept getting me confused with the other character who was Dom. That was confusing.
And Father Tom has a gift for little Karen. She's all excited. And before he can give her the gift, Alice says she has to go to the bathroom. And you get Mrs. Tredoni, this old Italian woman. I think it's the mother of the killer from Evil Laugh.
Oh, yeah. I see the similarities for sure. Yeah.
But it's this old Italian woman, and she's furiously scrubbing the kitchen floor. And Alice walks right on the floor, and is wearing this plastic opaque mask, and just staring down at her. And Mrs. Tredoni's like, "Oh, you nasty child, get out of here."
Poor Mrs. Tredoni, right from the start, like, that woman is not happy. She's a pretty miserable dame. And she's scrubbing the floors, obviously miserable, very Catholic, very devoted, as you come to find out. But yeah, I mean, if that kid pulled that shit with me, I would have fucking backhanded her right then and there. I am not pro child abuse by any means, but as you'll realize with these children, it is deserved. The one girl, at least, she's a fucking punk. She's a bad kid. I can't stand her. Alice is definitely she has the movie named after her. So,
but Alice returns and has to sit at the counter, and what we find out is Father Tom gives Karen a crucifix as a present for her first communion. This was odd to me, and I don't want to get into spoilers or anything like that, but the relationship between like Alice, the mother, and this father is very odd to me. And I'm wondering if there is some subtext going on that we're supposed to maybe infer, because why would he give her, Alice, a crucifix that belonged to his mother? He's like, "Oh, it belonged to my mother." This is just a girl that goes to your church. And he makes the comment of, and the mother's like, "Well, what if she loses it?" And he makes the comment, "Well, who else would I give it to?" And I'm wondering if there is some sort of Do you know what I'm getting at? I'll just give you like the Scarlet Letter thing going on.
Yeah, I definitely feel there's definitely a relationship between the the mother. Um, is it Annie? What's the mom's name?
Yeah, Catherine.
Oh no, Catherine. Annie's the sister. Yeah, Catherine. There's definitely a unique relationship with her and the priest, especially him being like a younger, attractive priest. I think there's definitely like a suggestion that there's a sort of an attraction there between the two of them. And he definitely like favors her family, but you're also right. Like the whole implication of the mother being like kind of a whore, which carries through the whole thing, that Scarlet Letter, like you mentioned. I think maybe it's just the priest wanting to extend himself to the family, but sometimes it almost reads as though there's like that there is an attraction. It is hard to read though. I don't know if that was intended.
I don't know, but if you watch it, like even like you don't pick up on it like the first or second viewing, but about the third or fourth, you will see that they're also very touchy with each other.
Yes.
In just subtle ways that you don't really notice upon a first viewing. So I was just wondering, was there some deeper thing that is involved with the whole concept of Catholicism, guilt, confession, things like that that we're supposed to make?
Yeah.
Okay, so Alice is not happy that Karen gets this crucifix. And I can tell you, if this actress, Paula Shepherd, has anything down, she certainly can give some stank eye pretty damn good.
Oh my God. She covets that fucking crucifix. The moment she lays her eyes on it, she wants that cross so bad. Listen, even at my most Catholic, and I was in the choir, I was very involved. I never, ever wanted a cross that gaudy in all my life. This is a very gaudy cross. And it's very large for a small girl, but and everybody wants it in the movie. It seems to have some real meaning behind it. But yeah, no, she covets that cross and she pouts about it and she makes it known.
Yeah. And then after that, you get some weird editing here. The editing in this scene was kind of, to me, a little all over the place, because 1 minute they're at home, and Karen is throwing a fit because, of course, she's throwing a fit because Alice took her doll, and she's, mommy, she has my doll. She's going to break it. She won't shut up. She's like carrying on about this doll.
The freak doll with two faces on it?
The weird doll, yes.
Who gives that doll to a child anyways, and why is she so attached to it? It's horrifying.
It is horrifying. It's the ugliest doll I've ever seen. It's not even doesn't even look cuddly. Like its head is porcelain. It's not like you're going to be hugging it and
it has two fucking faces and no hair.
No, it has no hair. Oh man, but she is throwing a fit because all she does in this fucking movie is whine. Thank God she's only in this for 12 minutes, because I don't know if I could take any more. She's whining about something. But then the editing is real weird, because all of a sudden she's on her bike outside and Alice is in a abandoned warehouse, and the editing is real choppy, because 1 second she's on her Karen's on her bike, riding her bike, and there's that scene with the card flapping in her spokes.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to she's already in the warehouse looking for Alice. It's just really weird editing.
And they're both wearing those yellow rain slickers, which makes it even more confusing. Though I've got to say, Brooke Shields has the best hair, even as a child. Her hair is very voluminous in this film. I'm very envious.
And these two actually look like they really could be.
Yes, they do. They did a good job casting them opposite each other. But yeah, I agree with you on the editing. But I'll say is I feel like watching that, you see a lot of inspiration that eventually would be infused to future films, like in the sense of that kind of jump style of jumping time frames, transitioning through edits in such a creative way. Yeah, it's kind of startling, but it also seems very progressive for the time. I gotta say that.
And it also is, I feel like the director, Alfred Soul, we should talk about the director, Alfred Soul. I think he got a lot of influence from Italian giallo, early 70s giallos. And I think that style is definitely noticeable in this film, particularly in scenes like this that just seem like they're there for a specific aesthetic reason and not necessarily to drive the plot. But you do get, so Karen goes into this warehouse and is like, Mother wants you home right now. And Alice jumps out in this mask, scares the shit out of Karen, and then lifts the mask up, and she's wearing another mask, which is like an old lady mask. And then she throws Karen into this room and like shuts the door and like locks her in there and is just like smirking, like she's so happy that she locked her little sister in this room. I'm like, you are an evil little girl.
Yeah, Alice is very problematic. And like, even as the story progresses and becomes stranger and more full of twists and turns, like she is a little shit from beginning to end. And I gotta say that that the mother is not really doing herself any favors, because she's completely just feeding into this child's outbursts and enabling her. Like, I mean, this kid is a shit. She's a shitty kid, even without the whole like murdering side plot that happens. She is a piece of shit, and she treats everyone so poorly. She's lying to everybody. Like, it's just, she's very manipulative. No one believes her. The only one that even buys into it is the mother. And I can't really sympathize with her in some of these scenarios, because this kid is just a horrible child. And it makes sense why people suspect her of doing evil things.
It's sort of like the mother in The Bad Seed. I get a lot of the Bad Seed vibes from this film.
Very much so, yeah.
But anyways, she lets her out, and then she aggressively takes her and slams her against the wall, like really hard. And it's like, if you tell Mom about this, you'll never see that doll. Now go home.
And Brooke Shields seems to be fine.
Well, yeah, because the very next scene, like she walks in like nothing happened, and Alice is like right behind her.
Yeah.
And they're just like, nothing happened. I'm like, that's okay.
These siblings have a very toxic relationship.
Yeah. They get home. Karen has a new dress, and of course, Alice has to try on the veil. And this is another fucking 20-minute outburst from stupid little Karen about Alice having the veil on. She's screaming at the top, "She has my veil! She's gonna ruin it!" And the whole family starts screaming at each other. You get doors slammed. Oh my God. I'm like, this is. Whew.
Medicate them. Put these children on meds.
And then you get, you cut to the downstairs apartment with Mr. Alonzo, who...
This guy came out of fucking nowhere.
He is, I think his brother is the sheriff from Evil Laugh. Okay.
It's all within the same world, all within the same timeline. Yeah.
Because this guy is about 800 pounds. I'm not exaggerating. He's morbidly obese.
Where did they find this gem?
Well, I'm going to get to that. They dress him. They make him look as repulsive as possible. He's wearing a tank top that has food all over the front of it. His pants have a big old piss stain.
It's disgusting.
On the front. He has skid marks on the back of his pants. And his apartment is full of kittens.
He is like an early era episode of My 600-Pound Life, like waiting to happen. It is disgusting. It's very unfortunate. He's eating cat food.
I was going to get to that. He's like, Mama's baby's hungry. So he opens up a can of cat food, and he's like, well, Mama's hungry. He gives the cats like one scoop of cat food, and there's like 15 cats, and he sits in the bed and eats the rest out of the can.
Oh, and his eyes light up.
His eyes are like rolling in the back of his head.
Like, oh, God, this is the best shit I ever had. You guys get to share that. I'm going to eat the rest of this tin. Like, yeah, he's disgusting. Who is he? Tell me. Because I did not look into this.
I did. I went on IMDb. He actually...
God bless you.
The director found him at a gay bar. He was a bouncer at a gay bar.
Oh, I knew it. I fucking knew it. He gave me some serious gay vibes.
Yeah. Well, he calls himself Mama. No straight guy is going to call themselves Mama.
But then he does other things. I feel like I feel like this man's body is in such a state of disarray that he'll just kind of take whatever he can get, as you realize later as the film progresses. I worry for those cats. I'm sure like they have been touched in inappropriate ways, because this man can't even really move. There's one point where he gets up off of a couch, and it's like, I don't know how they fucking did it. I don't know how he got up that fast, because his body it's shot. He's a big man, but I worry for him.
It's this scene because Karen goes downstairs and walks past his door, and he immediately opens the door, and he's like, where are you going? Where are you going? I'm not feeling well. Oh, the store's not open on Sunday. You want to go to the store for me? And she's like, shut up, fatso. Just
They treat him, I guess, as he should be treated because he is a horrible person. But they just are very cruel to this large man.
Oh, God.
Who's also their landlord, correct?
It is their landlord. It is their landlord.
I want to stay in good favor with this guy.
Oh, no. Karen calls him fatso. I mean, Alice calls him fatso throughout the whole movie.
At least at one point, the mother offers him a peace cake because her children are very abusive towards him.
Oh, yes. Well, not so much Karen. Alice is. So now we get the day of communion. And they're all piling in the church, and they realize Alice isn't around. And this is when we get introduced to Aunt Annie, who herself is a handful to handle.
A pain in my ass is who Annie is. She's difficult. She's what I call a difficult cunt.
That's to say the least. Yes.
Yeah. Also, we also get introduced to that woman who's singing the chorale, who looks like a Tammy Faye Baker impersonator. You know who I'm talking about? That woman, I mean, and we've all seen her because if you've been to a Catholic mass, there's always one of those women whose face is painted like a drag queen, and she's up there singing the hymns full volume.
Yeah, she's getting it. So they're looking for Alice. Aunt Annie sends her daughter, Angela, to go look for Alice.
The one with the eating problem?
Yes, the poor little girl. And as Karen is in line for the communion, a figure in the yellow raincoat and the opaque mask comes up behind her and strangles her to death with a large candle.
Was not expecting a child murder so quick right off the bat.
And this is a very brutal child murder. They do not shy away from, this isn't just like, oh, you hear about the child being murdered. No, they show this little girl being strangled. They show her body being dragged across the floor.
Slowly.
They show her being put into a bench, an open bench chamber.
Her eyes wide open.
They show her eyes wide open, and then the killer proceeds to take a candle and light it and put it in the bench and close the door and basically set the kid's body on fire.
It's pretty horrifying. And you don't see any of the aftermath of the body aside from, you do see a photo at one point. You see a photo, but overall, during the actual sequence of the burning of the child, you don't see anything, but you see the commotion and everything as the smoke starts coming out and they start smelling it. And there's this elderly nun with a real sour facial expression throughout the whole film. She looks miserable, but then she starts screaming. And I seriously thought she was going to die as well by her heart stopping because she's very old, but she makes it. But yeah, I mean, the way they handle it, it's mostly the commotion of it. And it is pretty terrifying.
It is. And of course, right after the body is put into the bench and set on fire, Alice emerges. So obviously we're supposed to assume then that Alice is probably the killer because the killer is wearing the same yellow raincoat, the same mask that Alice runs around in. But Annie goes and sees the body, and this is Annie, you're a bitch, because she has to immediately run out and tell the mother in the most dramatic, not even nonchalant way as possible. She's dead. She screams it to the entire church. She's dead, Annie. Karen's dead. I'm lady, you could have that's your sister. You could have taken her aside and been a little bit more tactful about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And even through the way they film it, they make sure that it's as aggressive as possible. Because she's literally in the scream, screaming into the camera, dead into the camera, like a fisheye lens, ow, she's dead. it's so aggressive. And the poor mother is just so overwhelmed, and everybody is suspecting, obviously, that it's Alice because she's wearing that damn veil, and she's about to get that communion, and boom, it hits. The way they time it out is very, very effective.
Yeah, she has the veil. She does not look Alice doesn't look overly upset that her sister has been killed.
There's not a moment of mourning.
No, she's just she has that same kind of look on her face that she does the entire movie.
One of disdain.
one of disdain. Like she's not having it at all. Oh, so that is pretty shocking. I mean, if you think about it, for a film to kill off a kid, because I mean, I'm assuming in the movie, I think Alice is supposed to be 12. So I'm assuming um, Karen was what, 10 maybe?
Well, I'm trying to think. So I got my second communion in the second grade. I was 7.
Okay.
I was 7. Yeah, I was young.
Okay, so maybe she's supposed to be younger than that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty disturbing to see a kid. You don't see that a lot. You
Yeah.
can count on maybe one hand what films actually show a child get killed. And it goes back into your opening comment about the movie as far as why is it this movie more um talked about as being like offensive. I don't even want to say offensive. But you know what I mean? Like why isn't it
Like,
yes.
yeah, like, and for Catholics, I'm sure, there's a full, they have a list of movies that they consider impure or issues. And I'm sure that this falls on one of those lists because it really is beginning to end. It deals with Catholicism. It's not like a topic that's like lightly touched on. Like this film is almost, I'd say, predominantly set within a church or a church-based venue,
And and actually, like as we were talking about, as Alice or as Karen is being strangled and murdered, it keeps cutting to images from the church. Like
Yeah.
it cuts to the face of Christ, it cuts to the Virgin Mary statue, it cuts to a crucifix. I mean, it's the Catholicism symbolism is interwoven with this murder sequence, which makes it even more just like uneasy.
Yeah. Another thing that they use a lot, and not just within the sequence, but a few times throughout the film, and it makes sense why the film, one of the alternate titles is as such, is they show a lot of imagery of people taking communion, and they're taking it like in the traditional way before we started taking it, just extending our hands and placing it within our own mouth, when they used to actually place the communion on the tongue of the individual taking the communion. Like the priest would lower the communion onto the tongue, and it is like there's something about the imagery of people with their eyes just like, closed, and they're like, like tongue out, like, and like it's just it creeps the fuck out of me. And maybe it's because I grew up in that environment, and I I did the whole shebang, communion and all. But like the whole mentality behind it, it just adds a whole other layer of like, skeezy, like makes your skin crawl when you watch this killing happen, because she's even choked to death with like a traditional candle from a church, like one of those white, elegant candles. Like everything about this is blasphemous, to be honest,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's also like this whole claustrophobic feel to how everything is shot. Like it's very tight, and even like I don't know, it's just so effective, and so creepy. I mean, I think anytime you can interweave like religious symbolism with death and stuff like that, it's going to be extra. But basically, we get cut to the funeral. It's the day of the funeral for Alice, and this is or for Karen. And this is when the father shows up, Dominic, and Annie's a bitch to him too. Like,
oh, Annie's a bitch to everyone. And like I will say that Annie's probably got the best head on her shoulders in the sense of like how to treat that child. But like, it's not your place, Annie. Sit the fuck down. She's a control freak. Her poor husband looks like a turtle. He's so meek around her.
yeah. She's definitely wears the pants in the family. Because she tells Alice to get up and let her father sit there, and Alice is like, "I'm not getting up. I'm staying here." And the father, Dom, is like, "No, I'll sit. I'll sit on the seat." And Annie gets up and storms out. "I'll go sit in the other car then." And then she's like pounding on the door, telling her husband to scoot over. Oh, she's just
a pain.
A pain.
And that poor daughter, Angela.
Yeah.
Oh God, like no wonder she has a nervous eating habit, because those parents hate each other. But it is what it is. This whole family has problems. It's pretty clear.
We have the funeral, the cops. There's 2 cops that are introduced, and they kind of want to talk to Alice because they know that she was the last person to kind of see, or the last person that was seen in the church. So they want to kind of reach out to Alice. And we cut back to Annie and Catherine, and everyone's at home. And Annie's just barking out orders left and right. She's like telling Angela, don't eat anymore. She's telling her husband, you don't need that drink. She's just being.
Yeah. And it's really clear, very clear that there is tension between Annie and Alice. Like, Annie, I think, sees right through Alice's bullshit, and Alice does not like her in the house. There's a big dialogue about it. She's like, just go home. Like, I cannot believe the way that this girl speaks to her relatives. She should be getting a bar of soap in the mouth or something. It's just pretty unacceptable. And so I don't, as much of a pain as Annie is, I don't blame her, because
I don't either.
She's the only one trying to keep shit together.
Yeah. And she is the one that kind of, when Dom is at the table, she's the one that starts to initiate the conversation about Alice possibly. I mean, it's very obvious what she's doing. She's painting Alice as the primary suspect, because she's telling Dom about the veil. Did you know she had Karen's veil? How would she get that?
It makes sense. I mean, honestly, like, it makes complete sense why she would be the main suspect. Her lashing out aside, like, one thing this film does is it makes you as the viewer think that very much has to be the case. It's executed in a way that she leaves that room wearing the veil. It's like a whodunit.
Yeah. So Catherine does not want the kids to hear this. So this is when she gives the cake to Alice to take down to Mr. Alonzo. And Annie's two kids, Angela and the brother, who we don't know what his name is, they go down and they knock on Mr. Alonzo's door, and he answers. And he's being real, like, just being he's being really creepy. He's being a jerk. He's like, oh, she was such a pretty girl. Too bad she's the one that ended up in the box. Like,
wow. Oh my God, these people are giving you a goddamn cake. Like, chill the fuck out. That guy is a piece of shit. I mean, this whole cast is pretty shitty to one another.
Yeah, she takes a big old finger thing of the frosting and licks it off her finger real suggestively towards him. It's like, whew, this is, yeah.
Yeah, there's a weird sexual tension between, let's address the elephant in the room. There's a weird sexual chemistry, not only chemistry, but a sexual tension between Alice and, is it Alfonso? Yeah. That comes up a few times.
Yeah.
And I don't know who said that was okay. I don't know why it's not addressed further. I don't know why she doesn't point it out to an adult figure. But it comes up a couple times. It's pretty gross.
It is pretty gross. Yeah.
But he's pretty gross.
Yeah. I mean, of all the people that she should have sexual with, that would be the last one.
The star-crossed love affair between those two.
Yes. But anyways, it's funny because then he takes the cake and goes in, and Angela's like, wow, he's fat. And I'm like, honey, you have no room to talk, right, sweetie, because if you don't watch yourself, you're going to be right there.
But I also don't blame her for fucking eating when her mom is such a pill.
Yeah, this is when they go down. Alice and Angela go downstairs to play, and they tell the brother he can't go, and he has to mosey back upstairs. And this is when you get,
and he basically is no longer a character anymore, the brother.
You get the whole Annie and discussing Alice being the last one to see the veil, and then it cuts to a very effective scene of a picture going up a, what would you even call it?
Like a gurney.
A gurney. And it's a picture of Alice's burned face. And we find out we're at the police station, and we just so happened to be at the police station because Dom, the father, is going there to talk to the detectives. And the detectives are really playing good cop, bad cop really effectively.
Yeah.
And one thing I did notice is, you can tell this was the 60s, because in the background there's nude pictures of women from Playboy posted all over their cubicles.
There's porn on the walls. I was like, what kind of professional environment is this? Who are these men? And then I gotta say it, Daddy Dom is kind of hot. Well, he's both a daddy in the sense he's actually a father to children, but he's a grown man, and he's kind of fucking handsome, and he's authoritative. I like him. But he has this very uncomfortable like meeting with these two police officers, and the one is kind of incompetent. The other one is a little more has his head on his shoulders, I feel.
The one that's being very accusing of Alice.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one. He's going right in. He's like, how would she know it was Alice's veil, or how would she know it was Karen's veil? Blah blah blah. And the dad gets pissed and says, "I don't like where this is going," and he storms out. And we find out that this cop, the one that was being the ass, well, he's not really being an ass. He's doing his job.
Yeah, he's being straightforward about it. Yeah.
He went to Alice's school and got files from her principal, and it come to find out that the principal has made several requests for Alice to see a psychiatrist that have been ignored. And even he gives the files to the other cop, and the other cop looks at him, and he even says, "God, this kid's nuts."
Yeah. I mean, everybody sees it aside from the mother. It is kind of baffling to me that she is so blind to her child's anger issues and temperament issues. And aside from this film being like an analysis on like Catholic guilt, it also very heavily deals with like mental illness ahead of its time. I'm not saying it necessarily is correct in every assumption or statement it makes about it, but like this movie definitely delves into the idea of this child having mental issues. She obviously has anger and outbursts, and that, you know, we delve into that further as well. But I do appreciate it takes its time too, like as you're getting a lot of these like layers, like with the police sequences and everything. And I said the one is like a bumbling idiot. I'm not really, like these guys both kind of know to look at this girl and suspect her of doing something, but the one guy is obviously the polished one, and the other one is like, you know, like we said, porn on the walls and just sloppy. Like they really do a hardcore good cop, bad cop contrast. But they really like take the length of this film, and it's over the course of several days. And they manage to like get the audience to start thinking one way, and then all of a sudden they'll flip it and you think a different way. It's really well constructed, especially when they start bringing in this police aspect. I'm not always a fan of like police procedurals, you know, but in this film, it just enhances it because everything feels very real.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. Then you cut to Dom out in the phone booth. It's pouring rain, and he's calling Father Tom, and Mr. Coney answers and is like being real evasive into letting him talk to the father. And the father gets on the phone, and he's like, "Oh, well, I told her if you called to put you through. So I don't know, maybe she forgot or something. I don't know." So that's kind of weird there, because she's being very like just belligerent about like him talking to the father. Because he's eating his lunch. And so right there's a little bit of a red flag, I think. So I don't know. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think that they, I'll say that I feel they did a really good job with her character of playing her off as just an extreme, like kind of a religious nut. And I think like the accent helps with this character, because I feel like when I'm watching her, she's just like a diehard like Roman Catholic, you know, fanatic. Those people exist, and you see them. I know them. I've known those people. So, and you know, they'll throw a few little red herring aspects out with her, but it's nothing that I felt couldn't be explained. Easily explained just through character development, you know, like sometimes you'll get a red herring thrown at you, and it's just like, oh my god, this is so blatantly obvious. But everything with her is very subtle.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can see she's just a strict rule follower, you know.
Yeah.
And then so he's going to meet with Father Thomas to discuss the fact that the police came to see him about Alice. And then we cut back to Alice's apartment, and this is when Alice and the aunt, Annie, get to do a big screaming match because Alice drops some milk and starts screaming that Annie was going to hit her. And it just erupts into this big old verbal back and forth where Alice is like, "She hates me. Why are you even here? My mom needs me." And Annie's like, "You need to go back to school." And Alice is screaming about going to school. It's just this huge mess.
Annie is a stronger person than I am. Because at that point, I would have just started strangling the child. She is a manipulative bitch. She dropped that fucking milk. There was glass all over the floor. She's stepping in the glass. She's just a shit starter. And you know what? The more this movie goes on, the more I'm like, Annie's got the right idea.
Yeah. Alice dropped that on purpose, and then to make matters worse, she literally does step in the glass and with on purpose and crunches it with her feet. She's just being a little bitch.
He's awful.
Yeah. So Catherine, these names are just Catherine.
All very similar. Alice, Annie.
Yes. Catherine appeases her or calms her down by giving her the rent check to go take down to Mr. Alonzo. And this is such a weird, surreal,
disgusting, weird scene.
It's very So she goes into his apartment and he's sitting on the chair, just fanning himself. And she's like, I was going to put it under the door, but where would you like me to put it? This place is so dirty. I don't think there's room. You probably never clean it. And then she's like, it smells like cat piss. And this is supposed to be a 12-year-old girl. Keep that in mind. And
she's a shit starter.
And he is ignoring her. And she's like, what's the matter, fatty? Stuck in the chair. I mean, she is just being a little twat.
That being said, I don't think she deserves what's coming from this large man.
No, well, and I don't know. Yeah, I agree. But he's like, you don't like your aunt much, do you? And she's like, well, I don't like you. He's like, well, that's because me and your aunt are very perceptive people, and we know what you did at the church. And I can't wait to tell your dad. And she's like, what the hell do you know? And he's like, give me the check. So she like crumples the check in her hand, and he takes it from her. And this is when he weirdly like gets up and starts basically assaulting her. I mean, is that the right word?
He like literally at one point starts like kissing her neck. And I'm like, this child actress, like how traumatizing was this scene? And it's really repulsive. Like, I mean, I get that they're trying to establish that this guy's a horrible human being and like eventually ideally gets what's coming to him, you know? But I feel like it just pushed the boundaries. I don't know. And there's nothing that you don't take anything away from this, like aside from this one moment. It's never addressed again. Maybe if it had been something where she would have like reported it, then I'd have been like, okay.
Well, and trust me that I'm not defending any of these actions at all because it's disgusting what he does. But like when we were first introduced to him, I thought, okay, this is an old obese, gay man. He's called himself Mama. He's very he has that vibe to him.
He's got a goddamn fan.
Yes, I thought, okay, this is just an old homo. He's harmless. He's disgusting, but he's harmless. And then there's this scene, and part of me, I mean, this was the 70s. Okay, the film was made in the 70s, so let's keep that in mind. Okay, let's not try to apply anything that's happened in with Me Too movement or anything like that in the last 10, 15 years to this film. Because my mind at first kind of went, is he just being, because she was just a ridiculous little twat to him and called him fatty and said he was stuck in a chair and crumpled the check, was he just being like, I don't want to say joking around, but was he just being like, oh, I'll show you. You just did that to me, so I'm going to do something gross to you, without really meaning to go where we think it was going to go. Does that make sense at all? Where he could have just been like, oh, I'm going to show you. You just insulted me, so I'm going to, because I really thought he was an old gay man, and I'm like,
I did too. I wondered also though if you look at the kind of lifestyle that they're like implying this man lives, I also wonder if he even if it is meant to go there, if he just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's a man, it's a woman, it's a child.
But it's uncomfortable because he literally pins her to the door and starts trying to kiss her neck. And she has this is sad. I mean, I don't want to see the kitty get killed, but she at least has the wherewithal to do something. And she grabs one of his kittens and basically kills it for him to let her go. And she screams at him. She's like, that's the last time you'll ever try to kiss me again, you fat slob. And leaves, and then he shuts the door, and you can hear him in there screaming about her killing his cat. but it's a very weird scene, and it's not addressed again because if she was that scared of him, if this was something that he did like on a regular basis to her, she goes into his apartment later in the film without any qualms at all. So it's so weird. It's just never addressed again. So that's kind of where my mind was going, was she was being a little bitch to him. So he was doing something to kind of get back at her. That's kind of what I thought, but then maybe I'm wrong.
Well, and like, if we're going to go really deep with it, like, there's also the whole idea that, like, obviously this man is like basically like, trapped in his home.
Mm-hmm.
One example of a mental illness, and she is obviously another example of a mental illness. And you have this very unsettling scene between two mentally ill people, and they don't shy away from that in this film. His dialogue, like the way they portray him, even the weird music playing in his room, like it's always very like off and weird. All those cats, the stains on his clothes, and she's a disturbed child. And this interaction between the two of them, it's very off and surreal, but I think it almost, if anything, it fits the tone of how off these characters are supposed to be. Because you don't have other scenes like that in the sense of interactions between other characters within the film,
Yeah, there's a dynamic between these two characters that are just odd. And because obviously, yeah, we'll talk more about that later. So that's a very jarring scene. It's very uncomfortable to watch. And then, yeah, I'm very upset that the poor kitten had to get killed. But then you cut to Dominic and the father are meeting. And this is when the father's like, hey, the cops came. They took her records. I could do nothing about it. And the father, Dom, is like, well, how come you haven't told Catherine about all this trouble that Alice is supposedly causing at school? And the father's like, well, because I felt like I could handle it. Like, I didn't want to burden her. I felt like I had a good relationship with her. It's something I could take care of. And, obviously she has some issues, and she just has a knack. He makes the comment, she has a knack for making things look like an accident. So again, obviously all these people know about Alice and her character, like how she is.
Yeah. And they're all enabling this, or at least the majority of them are enabling her actions. And anybody who's trying to prevent these things from happening, Annie, people at the school and so forth, like the parents and other characters are like kind of like turning a blind eye to it. So there's a lot of enabling. There's a lot on all sides of the spectrum here.
And then you cut to Alice in the basement. Alice has this little hideout in the basement, and it's where she keeps her little trinkets. So she has Karen's doll, that weird fucking doll. She has all of her masks. She has about 6 or 7 of these opaque plastic masks. She has a jar full of cockroaches. And she has a bunch of candles, and she just likes to go down in the basement and play with all of her trinkets. It's a very odd little thing. Again, kind of reminds me of The Bad Seed. So Rhoda had her little trinkets and stuff that she would go play with. And now we see Alice put the mask on. Okay, now we cut to Aunt Annie getting her things because she's going to go out to the store, I think. Okay. And then we see the figure in the yellow raincoat and mask come up the stairwell. And as Annie comes out of the apartment and goes down the stairwell, she goes down one of the flights of stairs and she sees the figure and she's like, Alice. And the figure immediately starts stabbing the shit out of her.
Yeah. You see the knife penetrate her thigh where one of her main arteries would be. It is a bloody, violent sequence. And one thing that leading up to this, I also want to acknowledge is as they're intercutting the sequence with the masked individual hiding with Annie, putting on her plastic headpiece to protect her from the rain and everything. You're cutting between all these things. You're also intercutting with a few moments with Alonzo within his house.
Oh yeah.
Listening to music. And what I thought was really cool about this sequence is for a moment, I felt it could go a lot of different directions. It could have gone that he was the one that got killed, that she's coming back and killing him. And so they almost like they set you up to kind of expect it to go one way because they just had that really weird moment where he groped her, and instead you see the aunt get attacked. And it did take me by surprise. It was really well handled. What a violent sequence. You don't have a ton of violent moments throughout this film, but when you do, they're very well executed and bloody. And she stabs her multiple times. She stabs her in the center of her foot. Like, it is graphic.
It is graphic. It is a very well done scene. It's very creepy if you've ever like been in an old apartment building like that. I remember my grandma lived in an apartment building like that, and when I was a kid, the whole stairwell like that terrified me. So this scene was especially kind of unsettling because it's very much like, sort of like, it's like the shower scene in Psycho. It just comes out of nowhere, and it's brutal. It's fast. I mean, the knife is like this. The knife is hitting everything. Like, she's just stabbing. It's going into the wall. It's going into the staircase. It goes into her, like you said, her thigh twice, and then her foot. And when she falls down the stairs, and the killer goes after her, and it just so happens that Catherine comes out and sees the figure, and Alonzo's out there, and he's screaming, and the figure runs away, and you get this really I don't even want to, what's the word, where she crawls outside and it's pouring rain.
It's very hectic. It's like commotion. Like, they do a really good job of these things are cutting between all these things happening. It makes it feel very textured, and like there's even like the commotion in the hallway, and the people like poking their heads out of the doors and hearing the commotion. There's all these different layers to what's going on. They do a great job with making it feel like just out of nowhere, and just it hits, and it's this violent moment, and then the figure runs away, and they're in the rain, and she's like holding her sister who's just screaming, and it's really kind of like this primal moment, which felt very ahead of the time. I feel like it's a really graphic moment, and it doesn't feel like something from that era. It feels very real. A lot of times you have some of these moments that feel very wooden, and this doesn't. It feels very raw.
Yeah, that's a good word. Primal and raw. It is very those are great words. I was trying to think of the right word. This scene is just so unsettling. It's one of my favorites from the film because it is so effective and just so jarring. I mean, yeah, the rain is pouring down. She is screaming, and the big pool of blood is just forming on the sidewalk. It is just really effective. And Dom and the father come in the car right at that moment, and they're able to get Annie and take her to the hospital. And Catherine is like, "You need to find Alice." And so Dom goes, and he finds her hiding in the basement, and she has that damn doll. And Alice tells him that it was Karen, that she saw Karen, and that Karen must be back because she wants the doll. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. I mean, I don't.
Cuckoo fucking bananas.
So
yeah,
Annie's in the hospital. We find out that Alonzo has also told the police that it was Alice that stabbed Annie. So now everyone thinks it's Alice that stabbed Annie. And this scene is very well done, very well acted. It's when Catherine goes to confront Annie. And Annie's laying in the bed, and Catherine, I mean, I've had some sympathy for Catherine up until this point. And it's this point that I kind of lose it a little bit, because she is only concerned about herself at this point. And you can say you can't blame her because she lost her daughter. Her daughter is brutally murdered, and now, but for her to treat her sister like this is.
Yeah, and her sister is pretty much like, at first her sister won't even talk to her because she's like, you can tell that the sister it's hard for her to do this. And the sister even says, she's like, I love Alice. I swear on the Lord that I love her, but she's the one that stabbed me. Like, the sister's not being spiteful in this moment. Like, and it makes complete sense why she would have thought that, because of the outfit. She literally looked down and saw the yellow rain jacket.
Yeah. Well, Catherine goes to her, and this poor woman has just been brutally stabbed. She's laying in a hospital bed, and all Catherine can do is say, "Don't do this to me. If you do this, I will never forgive you." And Annie looks away, and just tears start to roll down her eyes. And the cop comes in, and her husband comes in, and she's She wants her husband. And this is when she is like, she tells everyone it was Alice. And Catherine starts screaming at her, liar, liar, and then shifts blame towards Angela. I mean,
yeah, and it really does not paint her in the best light at this point. But I'm also trying to keep in mind like what this character has gone through, like to not only have lost a daughter within like a matter of days, to also have it implied that her daughter is the one that did it. Her whole life, she even says like her whole life is falling apart, you know?
I wonder in her mind, who does she think did it? I mean, it's so obvious, like all signs point towards Alice, whether, so I'm wondering who in her possible mind does she think did this? And it's really shitty, that she goes and says, "Oh, what about Angela? Angela wasn't there when Angela wasn't in the church when Karen was killed. What about Angela? I mean, now you're throwing your niece under the bus."
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
When there's far more proof that it's your own damn crazy cuckoo daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. However, lo and behold, as things start to unfold, like, I guess it's a good thing she has her doubts.
Yeah.
Because this movie takes a very unique twist coming up around this point. And one thing I also wanted to acknowledge, because there's a lot of really good stuff going on right now. There's, even when they're in this hospital sequence, it is a very heavily Catholic hospital. There are crosses everywhere. They never, ever, ever drop that imagery. It's like, it's haunting you throughout the whole film. You're constantly being just bombarded with Christian imagery, and it only enhances the film because it really does make it very uncomfortable. There's a huge level of Catholic guilt that I felt watching it. But yeah, throughout this whole hospital sequence, you've got that extra layer of like Christian symbolism and everything. And even what the sister's saying with, "I swear to the Lord," she makes it like a God reference in that as well. These are just very religious people. And it makes the film that much more uncomfortable while watching it. But there are a lot of shots leading up. There's that whole sequence with the father leading up where he finds her in that room. And I just wanted to go back really quick and acknowledge they make some beautiful visual decisions and choices up to this point in the movie. There's a shot of him looking through like a lace sheet, and you just see his eyes. There's lots of shots like that. There's a shot, and coming back to this hospital sequence, of the IV going into Annie's arm and like the little bit of blood splatter coming out, and it just makes my skin crawl. And because it's the 60s, so all of these things are not as advanced, and lots of really great artistic choices throughout the whole course of this movie. I absolutely hear you when you say that it has some of that Italian influence with the color pops and the reds and the yellows and everything. It's visually beautiful.
It is visually beautiful. And like I said, it continues that whole, there's so many tight shots, and it just creates that claustrophobic atmosphere. Even in the hospital sequence, everything is very tight. So it is very claustrophobic. It's almost like everyone is just jammed together, and it just makes it that much more uncomfortable because it is a little claustrophobic, if you know what I mean. There are a lot of eye shots because when Catherine goes into Annie's hospital room, she peeks at her through the crack of the partition, and you just see her eyes peeking through. It's very cool. And we have to acknowledge another film that this movie probably was heavily inspired by was Don't Look Now, with the raincoat.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing. I think there's a lot of similarities between these two films as well, especially the theme of like grief and trauma that runs through. So yeah, this film is very well constructed. It's a beautiful film. There's a lot of really smart artistic choices that put it beyond, I would say, just a general grade B slasher film.
Absolutely.
The Alice gets taken to the police station now because she's now a suspect in the stabbing of her aunt and the murder of her sister. And they give her a lie detector test, and they're asking her questions about, if she knew if she knows who killed her sister, and or who killed her aunt, who stabbed your aunt. And she's like, no. And the guy asks again, who stabbed your aunt? And she's like, it was Karen. I told them it was Karen, but nobody believes me. So they like, whatever, let her go. And he goes back out, and he's like, the cop says, did she pass or fail? And he's like, well, I guess she technically failed. He's like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, because she said she didn't know who stabbed her in and she was lying. But then when I asked her, when she said it was her sister Karen, she was telling the truth. So odd.
And then, like a real fucking piece of shit, she she pushes the lie detector machine off the table, and they're like, "That little bitch is about to break the machine," and she knows what she's fucking doing. She's such a piece of shit, that little Alice.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the lie detector test guy did make that comment about her tits. He's like, "Did you see her tits? When I put the the thing around her, she looked like she wanted me to touch them."
How old is this child?
He's 12.
Wrong. This movie's wrong. Everyone's a pedophile in this movie. Everyone.
So then we get lunch at the Monsignor's house with Miss Tredoni serving the Monsignor lunch, and he's just like this cranky old bastard who's screaming about this, screaming about that. I wanted him to die just as much as I wanted Karen and fucking Alice to die. Oh, he's annoying. So Dom,
but they do give us a wonderful stair lift shot, and if there's one thing I love in a movie, it's a stair lift. So I was really hoping it would be incorporated in the kill scene, and it was not. But I'm still happy I got to see one.
Yeah, he's an old crank. No wonder
very old.
No wonder Miss Tredoni's so cranky because she has to take care of him. He's like, I want my cake.
Yeah, but he's my kind of guy. I mean, he just says it how it is. He's very senile. I think he's played by someone significantly too young to be playing someone that old, so they just powder his face down. But yeah, he's a pain in the ass, but I find him endearing because I hope to be that kind of person when I'm in my 80s.
So Dom gets a list of everyone he goes to the Monsignor's house to see the father, and he apparently gets a list of everyone who has the same yellow raincoat, because he's thinking he may be able to narrow down, some suspects. Who has the raincoat? Obviously, whoever has the raincoat is going to be a suspect. So they get the list, and he's like, I'm going to go through it, and I'll get back to you. And then we get parents. The parents, Catherine and Dom, go to see I guess it's a psychologist for where Alice is at, which is jail. Dr. Whitman is her name. And she's like basically very upfront with him. She's like, hey, Alice needs psychological help. You better not tell her she's going home. She needs help. I mean, she's very...
Yeah, that doctor's sensible. I mean, she's no bullshitting. She's just straightforward. This girl needs to be here. And I promise that if she stays here, it will be better for her.
And of course, they don't want to hear anything of it. And they're like, well, we'll just get our own psychologist in. And as they're leaving, the doctor's like, hey, just so you know, if you know your daughter so well, Catherine, how come she never told you she began menstruating?
Yeah, she's like kind of like, oh, on that note, bitch, tell me how well you know her, bitch. Yeah, and the mother is not happy.
No, so you get the whole idea of menstruation coming into play here.
Yeah,
yeah. Was that the thing that was awakening her, her murderous desires?
A lust to kill.
I mean, it's who knows? It's sort of like Carrie, right? That's kind of what ignited her telekinesis. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a common theme throughout literature is,
Well, and if you're playing into the whole Catholic guilt, the Catholicism thing, the whole idea of like awakening sexuality and how sexuality is very like taboo and like looked at as oftentimes a bad thing. Like even in sex ed and everything, how waiting till marriage and everything, and that's always looked at through certain goggles with the Catholic Church, and it's not necessarily the healthiest way to address sexuality, with youths at least I feel. So it has a lot of context. I think the whole, like you said, awakening of that within her. I think there's plenty of layers to that alone.
And then you kind of get a scene where Catherine is outside in the playground with Alice, and Alice is mad because she thinks the mom wants to keep her there, and Catherine's trying to tell her, no, I'm not trying to keep you here. And Alice is telling her mother that she saw Karen. It was Karen. But she's being a little brat. She gives the doll back to her mother, and she's like, leave me alone. Don't talk to me. And as the mother is leaving, Alice runs up and gives her a big hug, and it's this big dramatic moment where they're embracing, and yeah.
Alice needs to understand that you catch more bees with honey, because she does not make it easy on anyone, including herself. No wonder people think she's a fucking killer, because she's such a horrible child. You know, it's exhausting. But one thing I do really like in this film, and I'm not always someone who wants drama in my horror films, but like if you're going to do it well, then by all means, is like the family arc as it unfolds here. Like it's a lot of really good acting. The whole divorced parents thing also felt very progressive for the time, and the fact they still, like, as you learn, kind of have feelings for each other and everything. You have very fleshed out characters in this film, and even if they make some weird or stupid choices, at least like they're very defined characters, and I understand what their intentions are, even if I don't always agree with them, you know?
Yeah. Because the very next scene is when Catherine and Dom at her apartment, and he's like still insisting that it could be Angela. Like now he's on the Angela bandwagon, and now it's Catherine who's come to her senses and been like, no, it's not Angela. It can't be Angela. You know, there's no way. She's too big. The raincoat, you know, her raincoat would be like way too big, so it can't be her. And then this is where they have this moment where they actually start to make out.
In the slowest kiss ever.
And right as they're making out, he gets a call from his new wife, his current wife.
Ugh.
Yeah. So that puts a damper on them, you know, going all the way. So she tells him he needs to go. And so he goes back to his hotel room. And this is when he gets a phone call from Angela, crying hysterically, saying that she has Karen's cross and that she needs to see him and to meet him at this specific location. I don't know how well he knows Angela, but to me, this voice does not sound like a little girl, but whatever. I mean, he agrees, and he goes to where Angela told him to meet her. And as he's there waiting, he sees the disguised figure. He sees the yellow raincoat and the mask on this bridge, and it takes off running into the building. And it's very, like I said, Don't Look Now, where you always just see the figure out off the distance.
I love it though. What beautiful imagery.
I don't know how he does. Yeah, I don't know how he doesn't know this isn't Angela, because this person is like obviously skinny. Like you see the full figure. It's not like he sees, and it's obviously not Angela. Angela is a little beefy girl. This isn't Angela. But he follows her into this building. Now this is shocking. And brutal, because as he's going up the stairwell, another staircase stabbing, the figure comes over the stairwell and plunges the knife into his chest.
Yeah. You know, if this killer has one like go-to style of murder, it's like surprising people on stairwells, which is a shitty way to do things. Like what a pussy way to stab somebody when they're least expecting it. But it makes for some very shocking sequences. And this one is, again, like, I mean, you don't get a ton of violence, but when you get them, they're very well executed. And this stab sequence is great. It's great. And everything that follows is great.
Yeah. The knife, because he falls back and the killer drops the knife, and the knife falls, like really cool shot of the knife falling through the stairwell and landing, sticking in the banister. That's kind of a really cool shot. So after he's just been stabbed, I don't know about you, but I would leave. I mean, I would like hobble my way out of that building and go get help, because obviously this person wants to kill you. No, what does he do instead?
He pursues.
And Angela, or the figure, is standing in a corner with the back turned to him, and he's approaching. He's like bleeding out. He's just been stabbed. He's like, oh, I just want to talk to you. And the figure turns around and beats him in the head with a brick
3 times.
And then we get this whole thing where the figure starts like ties him up and begins like runs over and opens the doors to the window, because they're on like the top floor of this warehouse.
It's at least 4 floors up,
and starts rolling him towards the opening window. And then you get the scene where the killer unmasks themselves.
Well, first of all, they start like log rolling this unconscious Dominic uh, towards the window and like slowly log rolling him. Like one thing this killer's got is chutzpah. Like she is motivated. She's doing everything it takes to get this person dispatched. And so, at this up to this point, I'm assuming it's still a child. So I'm like, good God, this kid has strength. She's rolling a grown man, and he starts to come to, and he's freaking out. And she unmasks herself, and it is not what I anticipated.
I don't think it's what anybody anticipated. It's not Alice. It's not Angela.
It's
Mrs. Tredoni.
dun 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 dun. All along.
All along. Now this is startling. This is startling.
For a few reasons.
For a few reasons.
First of all, it's halfway into the film at this point.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like, did they make a mistake unmasking the killer this soon? Because the whole setup of the film is a whodunit.
Yeah, but you know what? As we go on, as we proceed from here, I thought the same thing in that moment. But what I do get from this point forward is a really interesting character study. Now knowing what you know about Mrs. Tredoni, as the next stage of events starts to unfold, and seeing it more from her perspective, it almost shifts from being from, the Alice and her mother focal point to now like kind of sharing that with Mrs. Tredoni. Like she becomes a major player throughout the rest of the film.
You are very right there, and that's the redeeming thing about unmasking her at this point in the film, is because the film does then do the job of giving us some explanation and focusing on her character. It's not like they just show her as the killer and then don't really do anything with it. No, we get the rest of the film becomes virtually her story as much as can be given. So
yes, and I feel that some of the strongest cinematic moments over the course of the film in general also are either delivered by or revolve around Mrs. Tredoni. She's a very strong character. I really, I now have, watching the movie straight through and knowing what I know about it and everything, I enjoy this twist, even though if in the moment I did feel like, oh my God, like we've only had technically one kill and one, 2 attacks. We already know who the killer is. How is this going to work? I think it does.
Well, then but it's also a little disturbing to think about this old woman killed like a little girl. I mean, so the only thing, her accent is so heavy at times that I had a really hard time understanding what she was saying, and I don't know if that maybe I missed some of, like, I'm not saying just in this scene, I'm saying from this point forward, there's points where her accent is so heavy that I had a hard time understanding what she was saying, so I was trying to get it like true motive, and trust me, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But she screams at him that he's a filthy pig and that whore, talking about Catherine. Now we know that Catherine was pregnant with Alice before they got married, and it's a known fact apparently. So I'm assuming Miss Tredoni is upset about that. This is brutal. She rolls him towards the thing, and he gets the cross. He has the cross in his mouth. He gets it in his mouth, and he won't give it back to her. So she takes off her high heel and just starts beating him repeatedly.
And he starts bleeding out of his mouth.
His teeth in with her high heel. Oh, it's
it is rough. It's hard to watch, man. And it's because she's an older woman. So that whole thing with her like rolling the body and everything, like she's doing, it's not coming easy to her. It's not like she has a lot of these slasher movies, you have a killer who takes on like strange superhuman strength. Mrs. Tredoni is still a very old woman, but she's getting the job done, whatever means necessary, including beating this man with her fucking high heel. And it's just, it's really, again, another really raw scene, really brutal. And it culminates with him getting rolled over the edge of the building and like falling to his death. And it's a very effective fall. Like the drop where you see it in the reflection of that like piece of glass, and then you see the body hit. Like it's done in a really cool way. Um, they hit a lot of these sequences out of the park.
Well, he's dead. They killed off one of the main characters. You would not expect the father to be killed off so brutally. I mean, and it's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and now you see Mrs. Tredoni kind of deal with like the repercussions, like emotional repercussions of what just happened as well. And that's another really cool aspect of this film is like when you start to see more light shine on her character and who she is, like her journey as a Catholic, especially, like there's a lot to unpack here.
well, she actually goes to the church after she kills him, and somehow she gets like all the people start to come into church. So she jumps into a confession booth, and the father happens to go in there. So she's making a confession saying that she lost her temper with the Monsignor, and she feels bad because there are points where she basically thinks that he should die, so she don't have to take care of him. So that's kind of some glimpse into her mentality in terms of how she feels about having to take care of her kind of her position now of being a caretaker for this older gentleman, where she has thoughts of him dying. And now that we know that she is a killer, we're thinking, oh shit, is she going to kill this poor old man? Then there's this really good scene, tension-wise, where Catherine goes to the Monsignor's house to look for Dom, and Miss Tredoni is there. And now we know that Miss Tredoni is the killer, and we know that she thinks that Catherine's character is a whore. So, and they're in the house basically alone together. Well, the Monsignor's upstairs, but he's old; he couldn't do anything. So Miss Tredoni is like, Catherine's like, "Can I wait?" And she's like, "Sure, wait." And then there's a scene where she's in the kitchen and she just eyes this knife, and then you get
she's cutting fish.
So she eyes the knife, and then you get this shot of like someone approaching Catherine from behind, and you're like, "Oh shit, here we go. She's gonna get killed." But it's Miss Tredoni. She doesn't have the knife, but she's like, "Hey, I made you coffee. Come in the kitchen, and you can have your coffee."
But she is. I mean, she may not just go in for the kill, but she is very suspicious throughout this entire sequence. I think it's like now that the audience knows, they wanted to play it up, but like her delivery of every single line is like pause, 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 blah, 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 blah. Like there's always like a beat before it that's always like very uncomfortable. Like you know exactly what she's thinking.
Yeah. And it's through this conversation with Catherine, which is odd because Catherine is her kind of like nemesis, apparently. But she is very forward about telling Catherine that she, Miss Tredoni, lost her daughter. Her daughter died on the day of her communion.
Dun, 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 dun.
And she says that she learned, and I'm wondering, we'll get into motive, but she said that she learned through this that the children pay for the sins of their parents.
Oh, yeah. She's just dishing it out to Catherine, who is becoming more and more uncomfortable as Mrs. Tredoni is just towering over her, telling her how it is.
Yeah. So, and then she's like, "I was sent to take care of Monsignor, not you." And she points the knife aggressively at her. And luckily, Tom comes in. Well, not luckily, because he tells her that Dom has had an accident and has been killed. And
it's done off camera, so all you see is Mrs. Tredoni's like physical response. And like one thing I like is you see like the moments of guilt that Mrs. Tredoni like has over these these moments where she's like dealing with the fact she's killed people. You get a lot of that. You get a lot of these little moments where she kind of just does things in the moment because she has to, but she's clearly like struggling with her Catholic guilt. It's a really unique approach to this killer.
Yeah, it is. It is. And she kind of wipes her hands on her apron and is like, "Oop." And then we find out that the cross was lodged in Dom's throat through the pathologist. Because his body is being examined, and they find the cross that was lodged in his throat. So now they know basically that the same person that killed Alice killed him, right? Because of the cross is there. That's the common. So right. It can't really be Alice now because Alice was in jail. So now it's starting to come out
Right.
that there's someone else killing. Who is it? Okay. So they're trying to figure out who it is. They go to pick up Alice. She asks about her dad, and Catherine has made the decision not to tell Alice at this point about her dad because she doesn't want to traumatize her anymore.
Understandable. I mean, also maybe a bad call in the moment. But you know what's not a bad call is that fantastic black and white ensemble that Catherine is wearing.
Oh, yeah.
She looks phenomenal. I don't know if it's her mourning attire, another day of grieving, or if she's just deciding to like kick it up a notch, but she's wearing this great black and white outfit with a veil. Her eyes and her makeup are done really dramatic. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely looking good. Miss Tredoni, then we cut to Miss Tredoni, and she's laying on her bed with like all these pictures. And I think they're supposed to be pictures of her and her daughter, it looks like. Um,
Yeah. They really hand you bits and pieces of her backstory, and I think you're supposed to kind of put some of it together for yourself. But they do it in a way that's like, I like that. I like that you see all these photos. Earlier, you heard her reference the daughter, and you can kind of make up the story for yourself that she went through a really traumatic loss.
well, and I'm thinking my thought process is that she had her daughter out of wedlock. And there's a lot of guilt she has being a Catholic about having a child out of wedlock, and that she feels like that was why her daughter was taken from her, is because she had her out of wedlock, because she does make the comment, children pay for the sins of their parents. That's where I came from. And so that's where I feel like she is now taking some of that internalized guilt that she has and now placing it on Catherine because Catherine had a child out of wedlock. So
Right. Yeah, and because she had to go through that loss for the reason that she thinks that she had to go through it, which is very twisted, but she thinks that if that's the case, then it should be the same with Catherine. And so she's choosing to inflict that on her herself.
yeah. So she gets herself all ready. She packs up her little bag with her mask and her knife. She kind of stares at the father's picture for a minute and just says something. I don't know what she says because I think it's Italian. I don't know. To his picture. Did you catch it? She said something to his picture, and I think it's Italian, so I don't know what.
No, I don't. But I do wonder, like, the relationships between a lot of these characters are so confusing. She's so devoted to the priest, Mrs. Tredoni. It's like the one thing she has is her faith. But I wonder if she almost thinks that that Catherine is almost like having a negative effect on the father as well, the priest as well.
Well, it could be, and I wonder if that now you're getting to where I was going to go when we wrapped up the film. But like, I feel like another reason why Miss Tredoni singled out Catherine and her family for these murders is because she is jealous of the relationship that Catherine has with father, because you can see
Right.
now, knowing what we know, if you go back to that opening scene where Catherine and the two girls come to visit father and Miss Tredoni is in the kitchen scrubbing the floor, she does when she realizes who's there, she does not look happy at all.
No, she's quite sour about it. Yeah, and like it does, you can kind of put all these little aspects together. Like, why is Catherine and her children getting such great treatment when she's in quote unquote a whore, whereas she's the one that's having to do all the cleaning and make all the work for the priest and everything. Like, it does. I do understand the kind of motivation they're getting at here, and it's not like any other film I can think of. It's a really great approach to this material.
Yeah. So now we get the scene back at the apartment complex where Alice, and again, if she was so, like, this is what I was saying, if she was so scared of Mr. Alonso and this was something that he's done and like he's tried to force himself on her in the past, I don't think she'd keep going into his apartment. But she goes into his apartment and she's dressed in her mask and her raincoat, and she puts roaches all over him. And she takes the mask off so we know it's her, and so she's all smiling and everything, and she leaves, and then Catherine and her leave, and they go out, they leave the apartment, and at the same time as they're leaving, Miss Tredoni shows up, and Miss Tredoni's on a mission. Like, if she goes up to Catherine's apartment and she's pounding on that door, and we can only imagine if she would have answered, what she was going to do. She was going to kill her right then and there.
Yeah. And I've got to say, the fact that, like, as things have gotten to this point now in the film, the fact that this elderly Italian woman has managed to like concoct this actually very smart plan to recreate like this alter ego of this mentally deranged child who is already under the suspicions of the police. Like the fact that she's managed to like concoct this plan and take this alter ego, recreate the outfit, and do all these killings under like the disguise of being the child, it's really a genius idea. Like when you think of it, if things didn't play out the way they did with Alice just being a horrible person and putting cockroaches on that old fat man, things would have probably gone, to plan with Mrs. Tredoni, because it is a very well concocted plan.
It is. It is. So right as Miss Tredoni's pounding on the door, downstairs, Mr. Alonso wakes up to the cockroaches and he starts screaming. And Miss Tredoni hears this, so she runs down the stairs at the same moment that he comes out of his apartment. Just happens to be wrong place, wrong time. He runs into her and he thinks that it's Alice. And he grabs her and he's like, Alice, you little bitch. And he rips the mask off and sees it's Miss Tredoni, and she immediately stabs him 2 times in the chest.
Brutal fucking sequence. I mean, like, every single time they execute a kill like this, it's pretty fucking chilling. And what I really like about this one is, like, she stabs him twice in the chest, he drops to the ground, and he's like crawling across the floor, screaming. And meanwhile, the one cop is outside because he's just been watching this. Like, I think he's basically just been staking out outside with everything going on with Alice. He hears the commotion. He breaks in through the glass door, and he does see Mrs. Tredoni leaving. Like, he discovers her, but he gets in there, and at this point, Alonso has died. So, like, you see this really violent, again, very violent sequence in which you see Alonso like bleed out through his chest on the floor, and he like tears down his table and shatters his fishbowl. And the last shot you see is his like bloodied hand in the fishbowl. Mm-hmm. It's just really a brutal kill.
Yeah, it is. And this is that's what makes the kills a little bit more brutal in this film. Is like, you're right, the characters don't die right away. I mean, we get a prolonged scene after he's stabbed of him crawling on the floor, just screaming, and he tries to stand up, and he collapses and falls into his coffee table. Yeah, I mean, it's just really realistic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's exactly what I think would happen if someone were stabbed, like, to the chest or some area where you're like, you don't die right away. You're bleeding out. You're screaming for help, and like you see all of that, and it really does make your skin crawl. It's I don't want to say there's a best kill in the film because they all kind of follow the same style of execution as well, where you have a lot of like aftermath visual, but they're all just done really well.
So now the cop knows it's Miss Tredoni because he saw her unmasked, and she runs to the church. And so now they're at the church and they're doing their Sunday worship, and the cops they know it's her. They know she's in there. So Father is out there talking to the cops, and he's like, I will take care of it. I'll get her to come outside. She'll come with me. It's not going to be a big deal. And the cop's like, are you sure? We're going to have our men up in the balcony and he's like, no. I know her. I will, she'll come with me. It's fine. And so they're in the church and they're doing the communion, and Miss Tredoni's old ass, she just comes up there and she butts poor little fat Angela right out of the way. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, when she like shoulder butts her, she like football tackles her, but then she squats down there right next to Alice, and it's such an uncomfortably tense moment.
Because you're like, what is going to happen? Is she going?
And there's more shots of people with their tongues sticking out, taking communion like loads to the face. It's very uncomfortable.
Do you notice? This is another interesting little maybe bit of symbolism. Do you realize in this film Alice never takes communion?
Well, yeah, because both times that she's lined up to get it,
she's interrupted.
It's interrupted, yeah.
Because of the first scene when she's sitting there with her tongue out, that's when they find Alice or find Karen. In this scene, her mother gets communion, and she's next, and she's sitting there with her tongue. And they skip right over her to go to Miss Tredoni. And the father kneels down next to Miss Tredoni. He's like, Miss Tredoni, you need to come with me. The police are here. They want to talk to you. And she's like, you can tell she's like, oh shit, But she does turn around and she's like, Father, I wanted my communion. And he's like, no, not now. You need to come with me. And she turns around and points at Catherine. She's like, but you gave it to the whore.
In the middle of like this silent church where everybody is like sitting there in like peace and quiet, reflecting on taking communion, her voice like echoes and it's so uncomfortable. And you see Catherine like, oh, like she's like, shit. Yeah, it's a very disturbing moment because like at this point she shatters any veil of like secrecy here, like they're trying to do it discreetly and have her like removed quietly, and it's clear that she's not going to go out quietly.
No, she's not. And as the father is kneeling there, I think Miss Tredoni just realizes there's not much she can do, so she takes the knife out of her bag and quickly, unexpectedly plunges it into father's neck.
Again, very graphic. Like she pulls it out and she's just looking at him, and you see he puts his hand up over his neck, like trying to cover the wound, and blood just starts. And it's that like 1970s, like bright, colorful red blood. But God, it works so well in this film because there's so much color to begin with, but it's just very gory and very violent. And he's in his white priestly attire. He's in his robe, and it's just becoming drenched in blood. He drops into her arms, and everyone just starts screaming. Parents are running up, grabbing their children. There's commotion. It is wild.
Yeah, and she looks shocked that she did it. At first, she really does. She looks like shocked that she actually did it. But then she like drops the knife and like hugs him and is like just hugging him, like bear hugging him, just comforting him. And there's this really like cool effect of you see his face, and she has her yellow raincoat on and he has the white priest thing on, and as his head is leaning in her, her neck, just the blood just overflowing onto the raincoat. It's just so,
yeah, it's such great imagery. And I really felt like what a strong ending. This sequence was so well done because earlier, when they had the moment in the confessional and he was talking to her and comforting her and reassuring her that she was right in how she was feeling, and she was okay and how she was feeling and how she was, with her whole story that she told him. As she listened to him speaking, she was like in ecstasy almost. Like she's sitting there like almost like rubbing herself with joy as he was like reassuring her that she is a good Catholic and that she's fine, And so this moment, after she does that, she is cradling him and she's just smiling, and it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like what a strong ending.
And all the cops start rushing up, and then we get Alice, who starts to walk away from the scene. And the final shot is Alice. She gets the knife and she puts it into her bag and shuts the bag, and then just kind of smirks at the camera.
What a kick-ass final shot. You could have even ended it on the note prior and I would have been like satisfying. Like what a good ending. But this whole final moment with Alice where you're like, the whole time you've known she's fucked up. And then you're like, oh yeah, but don't think that she's not part of the problem. Like
did this push her over the edge? Like what is she gonna do now?
Yeah. And even like and how much, all of this whole time she's been lying. Who's to say, like, if you really sit down and analyze this, like, who's to say that one of those scenarios was not her? Who's to say it was not her involved in what, that you don't get a clear final picture as to towards some of these kills and which one is actually handling it. Like a few of them, it's Mrs. Tredoni, but the whole situation with the sister and everything, like, what point did it become Mrs. Tredoni and what point was it Alice? Like it kind of blurs almost, and it leaves you with such an unsettling feeling. This girl is a problem, and this has only just begun for the mother.
Well, yeah, and yeah, you're exactly right. Who is to say that Alice did not kill her sister? We don't know, or who's to say that Alice, didn't attack her aunt? We don't. I mean, you don't know. I mean, it's left. It's there is that there could be arguments made, but now the movie leaves us thinking like, what is going to happen? There's not going to be any, because now everyone's going to focus on the fact that, oh my God, poor Alice was accused. They're going to coddle her.
Mhm.
And obviously she's not going to get the help she needs.
Her father's dead, so she's just lashing out. Yeah.
Yep. So God knows what's going to happen. This movie could have used a sequel, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not always pro sequel, but in the sense of just the amount of story that you have to investigate here, you could have definitely gone further with it. But God, as like as a standalone piece of cinema, on its own two legs, it it's a great film. It's a beautiful film. It's a movie that makes you think. It's hard to predict.
there's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of themes that are explored, guilt, all kinds of stuff. So, and you kind of fill in your own blanks as far as what you really truly think Miss Tredoni's motive was for doing this. Was it jealousy? Was it guilt? Was it Catholicism, that her extreme Catholicism and the guilt over her child? Was that what you're left to kind of fill in the blanks yourself? And I think that's what makes the film a lot more effective. This film is definitely a lot deeper than many, many, many slasher films. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot deeper, and it really like it doesn't take the themes lightly. Like it delves into some of these concepts, and coming full circle with what was brought up earlier about how is this movie not, at least with certain groups or certain branches of religion, considered to be more taboo, because it is ballsy. It's a ballsy film. It does not hold back.
no. I think the film now has a very good reputation. I feel like it's held in high regard, as it should be. As it should
Yeah.
be. I mean, this should be one of the premier, films when we talk about the slasher genre that definitely shaped it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit ahead of its time. Um, it's just a great film. It's a great horror film. It's a great slasher film. It's a great whodunit film. It does everything right. It does very few things wrong.
Yeah, agreed.
It'll get you thinking. It's definitely going to make you think. It's going to make you cringe. Um, and that's what we want when we watch a good horror film. So
Yeah. And especially to say a movie from the late 70s that can still have that kind of impact. Like there are several points during watching it in which like my jaw dropped. I was pretty shocked that they attempted some of the things that they did at this time, both contextually and in the sense of like execution of the violence. Like it was just when you say ahead of its time, like I agree. I think that it's one of those movies that, and I'm not saying by any means I want to see a remake of this, but could easily be remade today. And a lot of these themes and concepts could be explored just the same.
that's interesting, because there was a remake on the table. It was supposed to happen about 10 years ago, and it just never came to fruition. Uh, so I'm just wondering, though, you'd have to approach it carefully, I think, these days. But yeah. But because I don't know if this film could be made today to the same degree as.
Oh no, the PC policing would not take kindly to it, I feel, for a lot of reasons. It would have to be restructured, and if it's going to be restructured, why bother? So it's definitely one of those things that's it's a standout from that era because it took the risks it did, and we as horror fans are very lucky to have this film, I feel.
And again, watch it, check it out. I'm sure you've watched it if you're listening to this episode, but watch it again, because I feel like you're going to catch things. This is a film that's layered. There's a lot of stuff going on, subtle stuff that you're not going to catch. And that's why we love Alice, Sweet Alice. Definitely a huge thumbs up. I love this film. I'm glad I got to revisit it. So yeah.
And it's fun. I was reading through my notes as we were getting ready to talk about it, and one of the things I wrote was, there's not a lick of humor in this. There, other than a few little moments with Alonzo, there really is no humor in it. But I felt like going into this, I was like, I can't see this review being one of our more comedic ones.
No.
Just because honestly, like, A, there's a level of respect for this film that like needs to exist because it is just really well done, and B, a lot because it's so ballsy to go into some of the dialogue and concepts that it does. It's hard to make fun of some of this as compared to an evil laugh, which is like, what are you going to do other than shred that apart and make fun of it, because that's what that exists. That's the purpose of that movie still hanging around. This is a film with a lot of depth to it. It shows that a lot of people say horror films are always shallow or paper thin, and this is not a thin movie. This movie has a lot of meat to it, and is a title I would probably bring up in an argument if somebody said that horror movies are nothing but bad storylines and bad acting. I'd be like, no, this title is an example of some prime cinema.
So yeah, we definitely, yeah. I don't think this is one of our more funny episodes, but it's definitely a conversation that I think is enlightening in regards to the film. So we're going from this absolute, well, I would call this film a kind of a masterpiece, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Of the genre. Now, are you going to reveal, because now we're on to your picks, because I did Evil Laugh, and now I did Alice Sweet Alice. So now you get to pick the next one.
We're going from one extreme to a whole other. I'm going to be real. I don't know what I was thinking when I picked this title, but thank God I did. And listeners, I am sorry, but I'm saying if you're going to listen to this next episode, you're not allowed to listen unless you watch the goddamn movie, because it's a real fucking gem of a film. Next episode of Dark Night of the Podcast, we will be watching the 1990 horror classic Shockma, starring Amanda Weiss from A Nightmare on Elm Street, and coming full circle with Blue Lagoon, Christopher Atkins.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Look how we wrapped that one up. That was meant to happen. I did not even put those pieces of the puzzle together, but I'm happy that that's the case, because it's so random and ironic.
This is a movie that I honestly had never heard of. So that's very rare, because I feel like I'm pretty well schooled in the horror genre. I've never heard of this film. When Roger told me this film, I'm like, what? I've never heard of that. He's like, you got to watch the trailer immediately. And I did, and it's the best fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So if you have not seen this film, I think you said it's on Tubi, right?
It's on fucking Tubi, and it's also on Amazon Prime. And like, just for a basic idea, because I know a lot of people are not going to know about this movie, the storyline is about a group of like medical students who are like LARPing in a hospital, in which there's also a like scientific study going on with a baboon, where they're like putting an implant in the baboon to like learn to like control its emotions. But of course things go awry, and this little fucking baboon is not something you want to deal with, because he is very violent. And I don't know about you, but I find like enraged animals terrifying. So I cannot wait to discuss this movie with you. And listeners, get your hands on it. Find a way to watch it. Shockma from 1990.
Yes. Killer baboon. We go from killer old Catholic women to killer baboons.
One and the same in my book.
Oh, man. Okay. So, yes, I'm excited. I cannot wait to watch Shockma. Yes, and watch the trailer, too. If you're not hooked by the trailer, I don't know what to tell you.
The trailer is like an adrenaline rush like I cannot describe. It really paints it in a good light. Is it going to actually live up to it? We'll see. But guys, next week, we're going to be watching Shockma, so I hope to have you back. Up until then, feel free to leave us some love. Feel free to leave us some likes, maybe. Leave us a review.
Yes, all of the above. And we will see you next week with Shockma.
Shockma.